Здравейте, добре дошли. Аз съм Драгомира от Земята, екип Въздух. И днес сме тук, за да говорим на тема за повече хора на колела, как можем да
Today
привлечем.
we are here to discuss how we can make more people use bicycles.
I'm Dragomira from Zemiata, and we are here today on the webinar dedicated to more people on bikes. And our special guest today is Petr Gelnar, who is the cycling coordinator in the Brno municipality. The idea for this webinar came while I was at the EU Mobility Days, which was in Brno in September this year. And Brno municipality was partially the host of the event, and there were quite a few presentations and demonstrations from the city of Brno, how they're encouraging smart, intelligent, shared, and sustainable urban mobility. And this is where I also met Petr, and he was able to show us on a cycle tour how Brno city is encouraging cycling in the past several years. Well, some of you maybe have been to Brno. This is not the biggest city in the Czech Republic. It's the second biggest city. It's roughly, I think, 400,000 people. Petr, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So slightly smaller city than Sofia, but I saw a lot of similarities, especially in terms of challenges and where we are now and where Brno is and where they're heading. And it's definitely not a city where you see cyclists all around. And it's not in the top 10 of cycling cities in Europe, but I was impressed by the dedication and efforts that the city is doing to encourage cycling. So my idea was to invite Petr to share how he managed to get into the municipality and what is their vision and their strategy of supporting cycling. There were people from the municipality in Sofia invited to this webinar, some people from Plovdiv municipality, which is the second biggest city in Bulgaria as well. And our purpose as the clean air team working on clean air in Zemiata is to also encourage sustainable mobility in the Bulgarian cities. And this is why we organized this webinar, just to share experience from Brno and to get ideas of how we can support Sofia as well and other Bulgarian cities on the way to more people on bikes. Yeah, there are people still joining us. Welcome everyone, добре дошли на всички.
Welcome everyone. In this Zoom channel, you can use the Q&A function to ask your questions. Also, if you would like us to give you the floor, you can use the raise hand function. We will be very happy if you have questions, if you comment, if you share. Petr will stop a couple of times his presentation to answer questions, and in the end we'll have some minutes for a structured discussion. So ask your questions in the Q&A function, use the raise hand function, and our tech support will give you the option to go live. If you want to share something in the chat, it's also accessible to everyone. This is another outlet for your thoughts and questions. We are currently streaming live on Facebook, on our webpage. We are also streaming live in YouTube in English or Bulgarian. You can also go there and follow the webinar from there. Ivailo Popov will provide you the links to the live streams. He's one of our panelists today. He again is part of the AIR team, and he will help us monitor all the questions coming from the other channels where you can watch us. I suggest we start. Petr, I give the floor to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I will start my presentation. Hope everything is correct. So to begin, as Draga mentioned, I'm a cycling coordinator here in Brno, which basically means that I'm responsible for everything what concerns cycling transport and some cycling transport development. I will give you just a few words about our city. It was already mentioned that it's the second largest here in Czech Republic. It's part of South Moravia region, and we have a 380,000 citizens here in our city. I think the best way to present our transport system is to give you a view how our model split look like, and you can see it on a table. Just on the presentation, where the orange color represents the share of public transport, the yellow, those are cars. In a blue color, we have walking and pedestrians, and then we have cycling. So basically, you can see that the cycling, the part of cycling or the share is around 2 or 3%. It depends every year because sometimes the methodics are changing, and you can also see that the part of the public transport is very large. I think it's basically pretty much the same as in Sofia, for the public transport having a big role in a transport in the city as such. And yeah, basically what we can see here in Brno, maybe already in Sofia, that when we are getting people on bicycles, we are getting them from the public transport. We are constantly failing to get more people on a bike from cars. And so basically public transport and cycling goes hand in hand here in Brno. To start my presentation, I choose this quote because the greatest mistake is to imagine that we never fail. I will explain. First of all, I was thinking that I will tell you about our accomplishments, what we have done, and how we are doing just really great. But basically, it's not true. Sometimes it's very difficult, and we have many failures, many obstacles and difficulties, and sometimes it's not very easy. On the image, you can see the most used cycling route here in Brno. Now it's being reconstructed, and we have this beautiful road signage saying dismount your bicycle, don't walk here, etc. Yeah, fail of communication. We were not prepared for this reconstruction, and this happened. So basically, I think we are here to learn something, and from the failures we can learn the best. I will start my first section about the cycling strategy. Here in Brno, we have a cycling transport strategy. It's called General. Basically, it's generic strategy for everything concerned cycling. And as you can see on the image on the left, we have our map of cycling infrastructure in Brno that we would like to have one day. Every color represents a different measure that we can implement. Sometimes it's a bike lane, it's a separated bike path, or it can be a zone where the speed of cars is limited to 30 kilometers per hour, which means basically cyclists can move there freely with the cars, and there is no requirement for any other measure for cyclists. Also, you can see on the second image that we have also cross sections for nearly every street, where we are showing where to implement the cyclists and how the street can look like if we will implement those measures for cyclists that we are planning. We have a case of Merhautova Street. You can basically see on the cross section that our strategic plan said that there needs to be a bike lane for cyclists on the right side of the road. And on the second image, you can see the street just after reconstruction with no measures taken. Why this happened? Because we have not only a cycling strategy, but maybe we have also public transport plans, and city districts want to have their parking, and pedestrians want to have their pavements really wide. So sometimes also there is a failure of communication, and the document is just not being respected. Maybe it's also because that the investment in this street was prepared by a public transport authority, and they don't really know about having a strategy for cycling, because their concern is a public transport, not a cycling. So sometimes we need to communicate more, and we need to have these measures, not only plans, but also communication strategies, etc. I will get to it a bit later. So for this example, I think strategy is a must. You can see that it's very important to have a certain strategy, but we are saying very often here that strategy is not a thing that you can cycle on. So you need also a good measures in the streets. We have also a global strategy. Maybe you know SUMP, Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan, based on a European framework. In Brno, it was implemented in 2018. As you can see, we are really pushing towards making cycling more popular. 6% of cyclists in 2030 and even 12% in 2050. That's our goals. But if you look in the SUMP, you see that our goals is to make more infrastructure based on the strategy plan that I just show you. And I think that's just not enough. So right now we are planning a new strategy, and this new strategy, as you can see, we would like to answer the question, not what to build, but how we will build it. On the left, on the image, you can see what does it take to make a bike lane. It's a bit of chaotic. Maybe nobody here in Brno really knows what the process is about, but I think everyone needs to know this, and everyone needs to know how a bike lane is made. And not only people on administration, but also the NGOs, the citizens, because the citizens can maybe tackle some problems in the process. They can point their fingers in some part of the process that is just not right. You also need to know about the duration and the delays of the process, because you know, where a politician will came to me and he will say, okay, I need a new bike lane, then I will tell him it will take 7 to 8 months, because we need to prepare design, we need to talk with everyone, with all the key stakeholders, with public transport authorities, with police, which is basically responsible for safety. And then we have the realization part. So when it's in a spring and someone says, okay, this year we will have a new bike lane, I will say we will have not, because the process is, like I said, 7 to 8 months long. And it means that it will be prepared in winter, and in winter there are no realization of bike lanes, because the roads are wet and it's freezing, and we need to wait another year to get our bike lane. And this also needs to be put in a strategy, because we need to be realistic about our goals, and we need to know what processes can really we take, and how long will it take to get this bicycle infrastructure in place. But what cannot we have forget, it's to we need to incorporate all the needs of the cyclists. We need also a bike racks. You can see it on the image, on the first image. I will get to a bike racks in a minute. We also need a bike sharing scheme to have, because maybe you are a provider, your city is a provider of a bike sharing. You have public or private authorities taking care about bike sharing. Here in Brno, we have decided to subsidize bike sharing, and this year there were 2 free rides for everyone here in a city. So basically, in the main season, we made more than 100,000 rides, and it was a great success. Also, when talking about strategy, you need to talk about communication, because every new measure, every new bike lane, every new strategy needs to be communicated correctly. You can see on the third image, that's a part of our video when we were talking with people using e-scooters, that it's not good to drink and ride, but also we show a good examples of behavior. And we promoted this video maybe on a trams, because there are large displays where you can show these videos. And yeah, it was also a success. Also, you can talk about cycling tourism in your strategy, because that's a large part of cycling. Sometimes it's a bit different part than basic commuting. Sometimes it basically cover each other, these two parts of cycling, like cycle tourism and commuting. And maybe in your city, you can also see a food delivery cyclists. They are basically everywhere. And during COVID, it was a very popular solution to get your food to home. And those are two cyclists, and they also need safe infrastructure and some measures that will help them. Now I will get to the quick sections. I call it quick fails and solutions, because this year we had a few fails, and hopefully I think we found a solution. First of all, those are the bike racks. On the image on the left, you can see a new park being reconstructed, and you can see the bike racks there, and their surface is sharp. You can easily get your bike scratched. The bike racks are too narrow. There is not much space in between, so you cannot put your bikes there. And on the image in the middle, you can see our city bike rack, which is just perfect. It's round, it's solid. So how it is possible that the city is building two different types of bike racks is because the park was reconstructed by the city district, and they didn't know about having one type for all. So we prepared a quick manual to distribute to our city districts, which is telling what bike racks to use, how use them, where to place them, certain rules, and now they can also ask us for putting somewhere a new bike racks. So basically, a quick solutions which took us a few months. Another problem, there was a white road. You can see it on the image on the left. The bike lane is being painted. It was very wide, and the cars were parking on the road. There were 2 rows of cars parked, and we say, okay, that's maybe a place for a bike lane. So what happened? All the cars started parking in the bike lane. So there was a huge discussion about it, whether it is possible or it's not. So we also communicate that it's not possible to park in a bike lane, that is forbidden by the law. And this huge discussion led to people being more aware of bike lanes in a city, and that parking there is just not possible. And yeah, also we are aware of this solution being just temporary, because as you can see, the bike lane should be just more close to the pavement, so the parked cars are protecting the cyclists, not the opposite. Now the cyclists are basically yeah, protecting the parked cars. So when we will prepare the reconstruction of the streets, we will switch the parking and the bike lane, hopefully. And the last problem that we are facing, e-scooters. I think there is no city in Europe not having this problem. We had a free floating system. Basically, you can park everywhere. That was just not right. So we were talking with all the providers, and we decided to ban the free floating system, and we started to also build a dedicated parking spots where you can leave your e-scooter, and it's working just fine. People are happy about it. Our main concern right now is to have so many parking spots that it will just be fine for the demand and for the new scooters to come to our city. So basically, this is the end of the first section, strategy and realizations. So maybe if you have some questions concerning this, just let me know.
There are no questions in YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah, I have a question here on the strategy, and I also wanted to ask you, while I was in Brno, but was it essential. I mean, I guess it was, but how did the municipality get to the point of recruiting and establishing this team of, I think you are 2 people who are dedicatedly working on cycling policies? And I guess you can visibly assess the value of having these dedicated positions of cycling coordinators or people who are working on development of cycling in Brno. Because this is somehow part of the strategy, I guess, to have these people as human resource.
Yeah, I think here in Czech Republic, after the first SUMPs in 2013, there were a notion about cycling coordinator. I think no other position is called like public transport coordinator or something like this. That we have in Czech Republic also a national coordinator, and for cities in 2015 afterwards, I think it was a must. A lot of Czech cities have their own coordinators because it was written somewhere in a European framework, I think also. But talking about the human resources, I think it was the NGOs here in Brno who are certainly pushing, you need to do something with cycling. You need to have a dedicated person to tackle these questions about the cycling transport development. And also in 2016 and 17, I was not already working here, but the municipality started to work on focus groups. We can tell a technical group for cycling and a strategy group for cycling. And basically the technical group, those are the people from public transport and from police and everyone. And we are meeting every month to discuss new projects and what we think about it. And then there is this strategy group, working group, and like every half a year we have a meeting to discuss the strategy and what the next steps will be. And also NGOs and citizens are involved in this group, so we get a lot of recommendations straight from the users.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Petr. Ако имате въпроси, да може ги зададете в Q&A.
Thank you very much, Petr. If you have any questions, you can use the Q&A function, or you can tell us what you want. There is a question from Radostina Petrova. She is asking, is a team...
Okay, so 2 questions on capacity and walking strategies or walking policies.
Okay, I've misheard the first question.
I think you can also read it in the Q&A. It's about, is a team of 2 enough to coordinate? Is a team of 2 enough to coordinate cycling in Brno?
Basically, it depends on the tasks that we have. We are lucky that we have also a transport service company called Brněnské komunikace, which is basically a group of people, of designers. They are also responsible for the realization, and the cooperation between the municipality and this company is very large. Basically, they are doing everything for us concerning transport. So yeah, we can focus really on coordinating all the stuff, but there are people on in this company, but also in other administrations that need to communicate with us. I think it's possible to coordinate in 2 people, but we need to have all the information, and we need to communicate really with everyone. What happens when we have some failures, some problems? It's always bad communication. We didn't get the information, we didn't have the time to react, to prepare a solution or something. I think so. Yeah, to answer, it is possible, but we need to have all the information, and we need to really cooperate with everyone. And they need to be aware that we have a position of cycling coordinators. So they have a problem concerning cycling, so they will call us and we can solve this problem with them. And I think the second question was a walking strategy. No, we don't have a walking strategy, and we don't have a walking coordinator or something like that. That was a big problem that we are aware of. And right now we had municipal elections, and as a result of these elections, there will be a new work group only for pedestrians and for safety and public space, discussing these problems and really focusing on pedestrians.
Okay, but as a whole, the share that you showed of pedestrians is quite high compared to biking. So I guess that's why you're focusing on biking now, rather than walking. Yeah, there is Ivailo Flabarov who is saying that the Q&A can only be seen by the panelists. The chat is disabled, and obviously this is how the Zoom is set. I misled you in the beginning when I said that everyone can write. It's only available to the people on the panel. Sorry about this. And yeah, please type your questions. I see them, Petr sees them, so they'll get answered. We have 2 more questions, and maybe we'll get to them later on. Petr, maybe you decide if you take them now or you address them later.
Yeah, basically I still have my presentation on, so I'm not sure if I can quit the presentation and see the questions, or maybe you can
okay, I can read them out, and you decide if, and you say if you're addressing these later on. So the person who is asking is Ognian Bozilov, and he's from an organization for supporting cycling called Sofenhagen. It's a nice play of words. So the first question is, have you investigated what are the main problems that people state preventing them from cycling? And what do you do to tackle those problems? I think the answer is yes, because I've read some analysis done by you. But yeah, you comment on this. And the second question is, what is a good strategy to build political will for investing in more cycling infrastructure, since local authorities may feel like risking their popularity, especially in auto-centric cities? So the second question is probably something that you're not addressing in your presentation. We can maybe leave it for the end of the presentation. And the first question, maybe you're answering it later on in the presentation on what are the challenges and what is preventing people from getting on their bikes.
Okay. I will note it, and yeah, I will answer it later.
Okay. Thanks, Ogi. And we'll get back to the 2 questions. Thank you very much for asking. And Petr, we can go on now.
Okay. Now I hope you are seeing a slide about data, because that's very important argument for us to get more people cycling and to get infrastructure for cyclists. Basically, we are counting cyclists with our counters that are really in place, strategically placed in a city. We have also data from a national campaign, Cycle to Work. We have annual counting made by our transport service company, and we have also data from a Strava application, which is used by cyclists, by runners. It's mainly a sport application. I will get to it later. Now you can maybe see this Power BI dashboard, which is for the counters. We have 16 of them, and we can see basically 24/7 the movement of cyclists in our city. We can choose the counter, we can choose a timeline, we can choose whether it's a weekend or it's a work day, which is very interesting because really we can see that the intensities of cyclists are much higher on the working days than during the weekend, which means that people are using it more for commuting than for recreation during the weekends, which was quite an argument. We are not building infrastructure for people just to use it during the weekend, but also to make them cycle to work and maybe also to be active after work. So yeah, maybe I can also mention that we can also see a weather and the temperature outside on the dashboard, so we can see what impact do have maybe precipitations when it's raining, if people are cycling much less or not. So yeah, very useful to have, and to argument afterwards when people are saying that people in Brno are not cycling so much. What is really interesting is our collaboration with Strava, because when COVID started, Strava offers a data for free for basically every city. We just wrote a huge letter explaining why we need this data and what we want to do with them, etc. And so they made this transfer of the data for us for free. And we also secure a peer promotion towards our active citizens, which means we also have a campaign, use Strava, and it will help us to plan more cycling infrastructure for you. I have 3 examples how we are using this data. Here on the left, you can see a heat map, which show us where people are cycling and what intensities. And on the right, we have a study, because when we are preparing some urban studies or maybe studies for a new cycling infrastructure, sometimes we hire external experts and we can transfer the data to them. And based on this data, they have their own design, their own plan on how to solve the cycling infrastructure in certain area, and they are using the Strava data for this. Another example are roads or streets which are only one directional. Every street with a flash on the map means that you have only one direction that you can go by. It applies for cars, but not for cyclists. Sometimes it's regulated by a traffic signage, and cyclists are allowed to go in both directions of this one direction street. And what you can see on this map, when the flash is darker, it means that the cyclists are preferring the opposite way. We counted all the routes and all the trips in the street, and we can see which direction the cyclists are preferring. And somewhere it's legal. It means it's all right, it's great that we made it because people are really using it. And sometimes it's illegal, and we are saying like, hey, here we need to make it bidirectional because people are preferring it and they are disobeying the law and they are risking getting fined. So for us, it's a sign to make something for them. Here, the third example is 2 roads. One is alongside the river, it's on the left, and it's an old one. It's too narrow with a lot of pedestrians, a lot of cyclings. People are really nearly colliding with each other. It's very dangerous. And our politicians decided to repair a pavement on the right. So that's a brand new one pavement. It's very wide. It invites all the cyclists, but the problem is it's a detour for the cyclists a bit. So maybe they are not very motivated to go through there because it's not direct, but it's quite comfortable. So we measured all the trips on these two routes, and what we have found out is that the people, after it was realized this new pavement, they start adopting it, and 15% of all the trips were made on the new pavement. But as you can see, in 2022, that's it. It's just 15%, and no more people are willing to use this. So we can also measure what a new infrastructure, what impact have it on a separation of the transport flows of the cyclists. But it's not all. We can also from the Strava app see the speed of the cyclists, and what was really interesting is that on the new road, the fast cyclists are riding, so the average speed on this new road increased. And on the dangerous old cycling path, the average speed decreased, which makes it a bit safer, we think. But we will continue to do another measures. We will try to connect those two paths, and then we can, with help of Strava data, see what's happening there. Also, this analysis we subscribed for the Velocity conference in Leipzig in 2023. So hopefully we will get chosen by the commission, and we will have possibility to present our analysis there also. So this is the second section about the data. Maybe if you have another questions.
Yeah, there is one question already, which is on cycling counters. How many do you have? And maybe I would add to this, when did you start installing them, and is there a continuous plan of increasing them? And yeah, so on cycling counters.
Yes, we have 16 of them. We started, I think last year we have started, there was some kind of testing, and sometimes we have some kind of struggles, like during a winter. We can see that because it's camera operated, when there is a huge snowfall, sometimes it shows us there is a lot of cyclists, because the camera is not detecting cyclists but the snowflakes. So we know it's not correct, but it's not happening all the time, and the curve of the cyclists and of the intensities is basically stable. So we can see that it's working just fine. But we are now also discussing a new technology and in a new place to have it. We are willing to participate on the project where the new counters will be installed only for half a year. So now we were discussing where to put them, and we have some dangerous sections where we would like to have a new infrastructure, new safe infrastructure. So we are putting right now the counters there, and hopefully we will get enough data to support our measures and our efforts with the correct data.
Just to add that in Sofia there are 2 counters, and they were just recently placed, and one of them is still being calibrated. This is what I learned on the first conference on first cycling conference 2 weeks ago. So yeah, we are definitely very much behind with collecting this data through this way, and definitely your example and experience, positive experience of collaborating with Strava is something that we can take on. Yeah, more questions. If there are any, Ivo, anything from Facebook or YouTube as questions that we get?
No, not for now.
Okay, if anybody wants to comment or type a question, just go ahead, raise your hand or write in the Q&A. And I have a question meanwhile. Who is doing the analysis of the data? Is it the team you are in, or are you also collaborating with an external analyst? How do you deal with data analysis?
It's a part of our department of a transport development and strategy. We have one person who is here only responsible for the data analysis, and basically he sees the data and he tells me what he's seeing, and maybe sometimes I'm leading him what he can look for, and yeah, basically we are communicating with him very often our strategies and what to search and what we want to measure, etc.
And this is someone who is part of the Urban Mobility Center, or the Urban Mobility Center is a separate institution?
That's a separate institution.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can go on. I don't see any questions on the data at the moment, but if there are any, just
Basically, maybe I can add that all the data are for free. You can download them on site. So we are also giving them to citizens, to NGOs, if they want to show us something or work with them. It's basically no problem for them. We are completely open about our data. And yeah, a lot of people like citizens, NGOs are helping with, for example, public transport and yeah, this kind of stuff. Okay, for the next section, I will end my presentation because I will talk about our magic tool. I'm calling it our magic tool. It's a geographical information system, GIS. Maybe you know it. Just okay, I stop my share, and hopefully now you can see a map.
We can see it better.
Can you also see the panels of the Zoom, or it's just the map?
Yeah, we see on the right the obsah mapy options.
Okay, yeah. Great. So basically, this is our GIS system. What you can see on the map are all the infrastructure that we already implemented. I can click on it. I can get an information what kind of infrastructure it is, how long it is, when it was implemented, and all the information necessary for us. This is also free to citizens. They can watch it in a free version, which don't have this intern data for us, but basically a lot of stuff is also for free. I will just show you these layers that we are working with. So this one was the infrastructure that we have, and this is the infrastructure that we are planning to do. The red lines, you can see also, we can click on it. We can see what we are doing, when we will do it, etc. What type of infrastructure it will be. This is quite handy to show to people, to citizens, that we are really maybe here I can show you this purple part, that we are connecting already 2 bike lanes that are being implemented in last 2 years. And also in this map, we have all the recommendations from citizens, from NGOs that we have in our so-called library, and we are working with it also. That's for the infrastructure. When talking about bike racks, you can also visualize all the bike racks. The dark blue ones are the ones who are made by a municipality. If I click on it, I can also see a year of realization, and there is also a photo of the bike rack, so I can see capacity of the bike rack, where it is placed. If there is a problem with bike sharing, I can already see it in a picture. For the bike racks, we have also recommendations from the bike sharing companies, from citizens, where they want to put new bike racks. And we have also, for example, projects that will be soon realized. It's the green dots. Hopefully the green dots will be a bike racks this month. So I can see it clearly in the map. I can, like I said, click on it, see every information about the project. When I was talking about the strategy, also the strategy can be shown here in the map. You already see this picture and these colorful lines. Basically, all the informations are available here. And we have also our new projects that are here. that we are planning. That's just another part, difficult to explain. And then we have these transport or road transport layers, which is very useful. Here you can see we can see all the road traffic signage which is in place. It's basically up to date every day. When we are talking about new road traffic signage, etc., we can plan directly with this layer. We can we can see everything. When I was talking about data and intensities of cyclists that we can visualize also here in this map. Maybe the data from Strava, it will take time to load. Hopefully we'll see it. Here we have the Strava data, also visualized as a heat map. What is very, very important for us are accidents of cyclists. You can see all the accidents from 2010 that happened in Brno and were registered by police. So maybe I can show you a practical example when we have here we have an infrastructure in place. Those are the bidirectional streets, the green one and the yellow one, and it makes a corridor for cyclists to avoid this Horova Street, as you can see. And we were discussing with police they are basically against those both directional streets. But our argument is if you ban these both directional streets, the cyclists will use the street Horova. And as you can see, there were a lot of accidents. So it means it's not a safe solution for them. So we cannot ban the both directional streets because it offers a safe solution for cyclists. That's for the accidents, and we have also fines that were given to cyclists. And here you can also see a very practical example. We have cycling infrastructure here in this Linky Street. There is a separated bike lane. There is another bike lane on the right, and it's not connected. And when it's not connected, we have these brown dots, which is telling us that people are fined for riding their bicycle on the pavement because they are just not feeling secure on the road because there are no infrastructure for them. So yeah, basically you click on the fines and you can see that just the spot where we need to build and connect these two projects of infrastructure, because it's dangerous for pedestrians because cyclists are using the pavement. And maybe another example, we have also a layer of Eurovelo. You can visualize where the Eurovelo cycling routes are in Brno. We have two of them, 5 and 9. We have also a regional cycling routes for cyclists that can also be visualized. And maybe I can show you also the practical land ownership layer, which can tell us which part of land is owned by the city. Also very practical when we are looking for a new road for cyclists or a new bike path. We can see the land is owned by a city, and so it will be much easier to build a bike path right there. We can also see the separation of the city for the districts and basically all the informations in one map, which is really, really practical. And when planning infrastructure or a new measure, we all look at the data, and then we get a set of arguments why the infrastructure is needed at this place. It can be dangerous, it can be fines, it can be intensity of cyclists, which is very big in this area, for example. And so we set a list of arguments why we are doing this. We are not coming with a new project like we want a bike lane here because we want a bike lane, but we have all the arguments about why it is needed, and it's much better to talk with all the stakeholders, with all the key persons that we need to discuss these measures, that it really, we have data, we have arguments, and it basically needs to be done, because it's also maybe written in the strategy, etc. So very helpful tool for us. We can export all the data from it, we can make images from it, so it's very fast, and we get a nice overview over the city and over all the data in one application. So this is for our magic tool. If you have any questions.
Okay, thanks a lot. There are a few questions already. There is a mega question from Bobby Tanev. Bobby, if you want, you can ask it directly. Do you prefer to be raised to a panelist and be able to also speak? Or shall I read if you prefer to ask your question directly, just raise your hand and you'll be raised to a panelist and you can ask the question. Or I can start reading it, not to...
And now I can see it. So
yeah, you can see it. Okay, yeah. You stopped the sharing, so that's
yes.
true. You can see it. So yeah, let's take Bobby's question. 3 in 1.
Basically, I'm not sure. I think it's we were celebrating when I was looking for a photo for this presentation, for this logo of GIS Brno. I think it was from a link which said 10 years of GIS Brno we are celebrating. So maybe it's more than 10 years. So I'm not really sure, but it's not only a cycling application. We have all the data there. We have historical photos of the city maybe inside. We have practical cultural information for citizens. We have also trees are there, you know, the greenery and the parks and everything. Every data is collected in this application, and every department of the municipality is working with it in a different way. So I'm just not sure of all the possibilities that you can have with this application, but I'm pretty much sure that it's helpful for everyone here. What I have not mentioned is already that we use it also as a storage of informations about what we are working on it. So you can see who made the changes, what phase of the project is right now. So maybe our colleagues can look at it and they can get pretty much a lot of information from it.
I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but part of the question is, how did you identify that the tool and data should be open to app participants in the city? I'm not really sure about the meaning of the question. Is it open to whom is it open? It's only open to the municipality and not to everyone, right? It's a working tool that you're using.
Yeah, we have a version which is a working tool, and then the data sometimes are in a free version for all the citizens, but it does not contain all the data.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not open to all citizens or to NGOs or to other stakeholders. Some part of it is shared, but it's not open to you. Okay.
Some part is shared, but I don't know, maybe information that I've changed a phase of the project, and who is responsible, etc. I'm not really sure what kind of some layers are just work layers, and then we have another layer which is perfect for public viewing, but we have also layers that we are working with every day, and it's not, I think, comprehensible for citizens also. So yeah, we are not giving everything to citizens. But as I said, when I was talking about the data and about the application, I think we are quite much open and people are welcoming it. And we have also like bike sharing applications connected to this application, and their applications are connected to our database of places where they can park their bicycles, etc. So we are trying to connect everything what we can connect.
Okay, thank you. Ivo has a question from YouTube. Ivo, if you want, you can tell us now about the question.
Yep. Emilian is asking if Strava is going to give the data to Sofia, maybe to Sofia municipality, or I will broaden the questions. Do you know what kind of cooperation was signed or agreed between the municipalities so they have the the data?
Yeah, I think the application is still open. You can write anytime to Strava. They have quite difficult terms of use. Basically, what concerns the sharing and mentioning that you are using Strava, etc. They are quite strict about it. When we made a poster for our citizens, they just complained about the Strava logo. It was not big enough, and yeah, this kind of stuff. But what is I think the most important thing, it's they need some kind of feedback. When we met at the Velocity in Ljubljana this year in 2022, we discussed it, and they said, okay, we gave a lot of data to cities, and maybe Brno and some other cities, maybe 5 or 6, gave us a feedback. But there are many cities that are using it, and we are not sure if they are using it, what they are doing with the data. And yeah, right now we are just also participating on a project for the Strava blog. We will make an article about how we are using it in Brno, and I think they are just happy that someone is somehow using the data, and they need also some kind of promotion and a feedback here.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you're also using the digital twinning tool for planning and developing cycling policies, or it's mostly the GIS tool that you are, I mean, they're very different, but do you also use the opportunities of the digital twinning?
I'm not sure digital twinning, like if you can explain more.
Yeah, well, creating a digital twin of the city of Brno and then planning in a digital kind of image or a digital representation of the city, but maybe not if you are not aware of it, because this was also discussed a lot in the mobility days, and if this is a tool which is really helpful, or is something which is fashionable and it will just lose popularity in a couple of years, but maybe you haven't tried it, or I guess bigger cities use it more.
Okay, I'm not aware that we are using it, but in some kind of like modeling using the data and analyzing the situation, we are now planning to match all the data together and to make a transport model for demand for cycling transport, which basically means we want to identify all the routes that can be made on a bicycle, and what the potential of a cycling transport in Brno is. If we maybe we can reach the 12% of models share, maybe not. I'm not sure, but yeah, we need to make this analysis. But I'm not an expert. I'm just facilitating the discussion and all the key stakeholders, and yeah, those are experts who are doing this.
Yeah, thanks a lot. There is just a comment from Radost Petrova, and she's sharing with us that Sofia Plan introduced a similar GIS instrument. Sofia Plan is a municipal how do you say this, like a enterprise, which is helping the municipality with some strategic planning and the vision of how Sofia should be developed. So they introduced a similar GIS instrument and are also using it for cycling, but it's a recent work, so it's probably not very popular yet. And not so much data is collected by the municipality. So great to see Brno example, says Raus, and congratulates you, and great to also get ideas of what we can advise the municipality to do with this tool, which is already being developed and available to use. Thanks, Raus, for contributing. And maybe, Petr, we can go to the questions which we parked, which were more general questions.
Yeah, for the first question, if we investigated what the main problems are, why people are not cycling, we are doing research for the cycling and for model split and everything, and also we are asking motivations for cycling, for using public transport, etc. And we can basically see that there is not enough infrastructure here in Brno. A lot of people are saying that they are just being afraid, and it means, and they are really telling us that if there will be a new infrastructure and it will be safe and connected, etc., they will be motivated to use bicycle. But in this situation where you are on a bicycle lane which ends somewhere and you are not really feeling safe, they are just not willing to cycle. Sometimes it creates a bit of a never-ending circle, because of course we are trying to do our best to do new infrastructure, but we also need to people to communicate with people about their safety, using of helmets, using of reflective materials and stuff, and sometimes their feedback, their response is okay, you are telling us to wear a helmet, but you are responsible to build a new infrastructure. So it's kind of I'm not saying they are hating us for this, but we totally agree. But I think these things needs to come hand in hand. We will try to do our best for the cycling infrastructure, but also wearing a helmet is a reasonable thing to do. So yeah, not quite easy to talk about safety.
Yeah, and the second question was about political will and how do you build political support, long-term political support for cycling infrastructure and cycling policies. It's not only the infrastructure.
I will read it just one more time, but I think a good strategy is to present some how to say it, no cost interventions, like we made new bike lanes, but we did not erase parking, for example. You know, as you can see on the example from the street where people were parking in 2 rows, the road was wide enough, so basically we will make a bike lane, and no one will be angry about it, because we are not erasing a parking. So I think these steps are basically
try to make everyone happy.
Yeah, but I think also the politicians are more happy to doing something for cyclists and not making anyone else angry, if I can say it like this. we call it like no cost interventions. And it's also it's I think it's best to start with them, and yeah, then trying step by step doing something more.
I have one final ask, if you still have a few more minutes, because we are already 5 minutes late, and it's about the rehabilitation and the maintenance of the existing biking infrastructure, especially the bike lanes. How do you assess them, and what is the regularity with which they are refurbished and maintained? Because this is one big challenge as well that we face in Sofia, that even the existing bike infrastructure is in quite bad state and not really maintained.
Yeah, basically, what concerns the paint on the road, it needs to be done when it's not more visible. Basically, we can call our transport service company that it's not visible. A bike lane is and the bike lane is there, and so we need a new paint, and that's not a problem. What we are struggling with is during winter. Sometimes we have snow here, and or during autumn and on spring there is a lot of debris on the road, and basically it's cleaned on the part where cars are riding, but the bike lanes are not so very well maintained. Sometimes it depends, because like I said, we have many authorities and administration bodies on a different vertical level, and so every street is maintained by someone else. That's for example, a good example is a bike path, because sometimes it's a city district, sometimes it's a private road, sometimes it's the city who needs to maintain it, and we don't have an agreement, so one part is maintained, another part is not maintained, and it needs to be continually maintained. Hopefully this winter we will try to maintain it, and with the help of the counters we will measure the cyclists there, and we will have another argument to do it during the winter for cyclists.
Thanks a lot. Final invitation for questions here, comments, raise your hand or write in the Q&A. Ivo, do we have any comments from the other channels?
No, there are no questions from YouTube or Facebook.
Okay, I don't see a raised hand here. Yeah, Petr, thanks a lot really for taking the time and preparing and sharing all this. All the recordings will be available still on the Zemiata Facebook page and on our YouTube channels in Bulgarian and English, so you can share them or watch them again. I will share the presentation that Petr showed with the people who have registered here in the Zoom, so you can flip through it again and have a look. Пожелавам си и ние да видим подобно посещение.
And I wish that we are also going to see such commitment and strategic vision for the development of the bike transport in Sofia and other big cities.
In Bulgaria with the city of Brno, and if the project kind of evolves, I'll get in touch with you and comment these ideas of how we can continue to learn from each other. Yeah, hope to see you in Leipzig and Velo City in 2023, or did you say 2024? Yeah, I'm not sure if you said that the Velo City in Leipzig will be next year or in 2 years' time.
It's 23.
Okay, so yeah, hope that you get selected and invited.
Yeah.
And definitely there are things that are very valuable that you can share and show. Good luck, definitely. Благодаря на всички, които бяха с нас.
I would like to thank everybody for their participation. I'll be very happy if you share this, if you comment. We are going to share the recording, as I mentioned, on our webpage, also on Facebook, and more people on bikes is a very important topic. So bye-bye, everyone, and thank you.